And so it does look like a taser. So, you know, you go into a shop to buy whatever, you got to be a bit careful with it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the eSkate Chat podcast with Evolve. We're here with Nick Druce and Andrew McGuinness. We're in Surrey Hills in England, the UK. Let's kick it off by telling us a bit about both of you guys. Andrew.
Hey guys, great to be here. I'm an Evolve ambassador. Been riding for the past 4 years now, and I live in London and just down here hanging out with these guys, getting some skate footage and having fun.
And Nick, we've wanted to get you on the podcast for ages because you have quite a rich history in eSkate. So why don't we take yours back a little bit further and tell us about how you first got involved in electric skateboards?
Yeah, okay. So I came from a wakeboard background. There's links to, there's always a story to anyone who's been on an electric board. You know, they might have seen someone, they might have YouTubed it, whatever. But for me, my story was different because YouTube wasn't around then. So the story goes like this. I was involved in wakeboarding. I taught wakeboarding for quite a few years in Europe for a company called Mark Warner. And then when I was 27, I got hired to go on it was actually a film shoot in California, and there's a skate instructional called Pretty Fly to Skateboard. And we had fans were the main sponsor, so we had 4 skaters. We had 2 street skaters. We had Danny Wainwright, Alex Mole, and ramp skaters. We had Ali Kans and Pete King. So my job was basically to look after the branding, and we went to Huntington Beach. We had this incredible 2 weeks, but I'd never skated, but obviously with the guys, I started jumping on a board and just going off curves and stuff. And I just remember this one time, I actually had a mini disc. I don't know if you're probably too young to remember mini disc, but it didn't last for long. But I think I had feeder on or something, and I was just in a parking lot by myself. Just that motion of that feeling of riding a board with sound, that was linked to electric skateboarding. But that was my first experience riding a board. And then what happened was a few years later, I moved to Australia with a girlfriend, and had the first 6 months there, which was great. But then I came back I was doing some presenting in wakeboarding. It's called Wake Stock. It's like Europe's largest music / wakeboard festival. So I was flying back to Sydney, and this would have been 2005. So it's about summertime. I had 2 days to stop off in Santa Monica. I'd never been there, and it was just me. So I was just hanging, just chilling. And I'll never forget it. It's one of those moments I'll never forget. And I was having a beer by myself. I was actually in Venice at this point, and I just saw this guy go past as fast as we go, pretty much. You know, he was going 23. I know you can go faster now, but it was fast. He was ripping on a longboard, and I couldn't believe what I saw. So I just chucked my beer down, and I ran after this guy down Venice, and I caught him up, and I was just like, what is this? What's going on? You know? And he was 6'1", ripped, classic Venice style. And he went, bro, it's an electric longboard. And I was just transfixed. I couldn't believe it. And it was an E-Glide was the brand, based out of Santa Monica, one of the very first, I believe. And I'm not making this up either. His name was Bill Cockglide.
Right.
Yeah, on my life, Bill Cockglide, which is pretty out there. And then what happened was, there's so much to tell you, but the first part of the story is basically I had 24 hours. I knew I had to buy one. So I went to, it was a garage, actually. It was a small startup business, 4 guys assembling these boards. And I bought one, flew it back to Sydney. And then that's how it all started for me. That was that moment where it was life-changing because of what's happened since then. But that's the first part of the story.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's not indifferent to sort of what our founder Jeff did. He literally saw one go past one day and it was just transfixed from that moment onwards.
Yeah.
So once you actually had that board and you had the time to sort of play with it, how was it working into your like wakeboarding sort of stuff? Like, was it riding it in car parks? Were you commuting on it at that stage? What were you actually doing with it?
Well, my girlfriend at the time had a spot in Roscoe Street in Bondi. So I got there and I just prayed it worked, and it just turned on. Well, I've got the board behind me. It was that board. This was the board, the very board, signed by Tony Alba, which is another story. But yeah, so what happened was I got on it, and what's interesting as we go through the years now, it was 2005, so it was pre-Tesla, pre-Facebook, pre-Instagram, pre-e-scooters, and humans weren't used to seeing anything electronically cruise by, glide by. So when I was going down on the first day, it was like being a rock star. Literally was being like a rock star. So the coolest kids in Bondi, or the skate kids, like the kids that you would normally not get anything from, they were just like transfixed. And so I just knew at that moment, I was like, right, I've done my market research, better register Skate Electric, so that was it. I mean, so to answer your question, I wasn't commuting, I was just having fun, and I would literally just put tunes on, no helmets in those days. I'm not advocating that because I'm fully into helmets always, wherever you go, but then we weren't. So it was just headphones on, down the beach, and my memory is just playing Best of You and Learn to Fly. That's what I was listening to. I was on a different. It was literally like being in a different world as well. And I wasn't well as well. I also had I'd been really suffering with depression, acute depression, and I'd just come out of it. So it was giving me this feeling that I'd never had before, but coupled with some meds as well. It was like electric skateboard, amazing tunes, and some meds, which weren't really that great for me either. But the cocktail was like, it was euphoric.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Good, you flying. I wonder, because back, we're talking, 17 years ago? Right, technology was incredibly different.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, how much different that first ride actually is. Like, the boards weren't as fast, they weren't as powerful, but it's still the same concept. Do you think it's a similar thing nowadays? Like, I think you and I started skating at roughly the same time, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been a similar feel of just the glide? Or do you think those boards that felt underpowered at the time?
Well, I can answer that, but do you want to go first, or should I?
Sure. Well, personally, I haven't had too much experience with the older boards. I mean, from what I've seen, like footage-wise, the one of the first boards you rode, you had like a wire or something attached to it.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine what that would have been like comparably with the boards we have now. I mean, how different was that board in comparison to these ones?
I've got the remote somewhere. Where did I put it? Here it is. So basically, you got a remote. This is the remote we had in 2005. So I'll turn it on. Listen to the noise, which is a bit annoying, but it's quite funny. And so it does look like a taser. So, you go into a shop to buy whatever, you got to be a bit careful with it. But I think the thing is, because they're single drive, so you didn't have the torque. But once you got up to top speed of like 21, 22, there's lots of times where we get that speed, we're happy with that speed. So I don't think the speed was an issue. You're still getting up to the speed. And obviously, for me at that time, you kind of ignore that you've got a leash, which was the cable. There was a cable. Actually, this is the wireless one. So this came about a year later. But the remote that we had was similar to this with a wire. So you kind of forgot about that because you're so excited about what was happening. You got ocean there. You're going 21 miles an hour. Everyone's looking at you. You're not really thinking about. We didn't have air. We weren't riding ATs. We were just running street. It's like a street wheel. But yeah, you look at them now. They're shocking, like in terms of the quality. So I think the point I'm making is the ride feel was obviously very different. There was no flex in the deck. It was like a really cheap, I think it's 9-ply maple deck, but there was no flex. But at that time, it wasn't a problem. And you'd see a
there's nothing to compare it to, right?
Exactly, yeah. So
I was at the Evolve HQ office like last week, and that board you have up there, which is the original carbon board that was designed in 2012, released in 2013.
Yep.
I'd never actually ridden it before,
Yep.
but they had a working one, so I'm take it for a skate, and it felt great. Like
Really?
again, hard to get started, not hard, but slow. But once you were cruising, especially on street wheels too, that was a big game changer. I think the all-terrain wheels when you had actual power. But on street wheels, it was just a cruiser, and it felt really good.
Yeah, and things you were saying earlier, it's more like the feeling that you have when you're on it. 'Cause it's like feelings of euphoria, right? And it's like the fact that it's such a new thing for you at that time, and it's like exciting, isn't it? So you're more sort of focused on the way it makes you feel when you're on the board, as opposed to like the actual dynamics of how it handles. Whereas I think that's quite a natural thing that would happen with the progress as boards developed. It moves away. I mean, it's still a very exciting thing, but you transition from that more towards looking at like how the boards handle and what's actually new and different.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting point on that.
I think GTR is quite a good kind of parallel. Like when that came out after the Worlds in 2018, you know, we were all saying it. You were saying it. I was saying it. It's like, I don't need any more. This is it. They've got it. This is it. I'm happy with this. You know, what else can they do? But then you're riding a Hidding. I tried a Hidding the other day, and it's just like, okay, I'm going to put whatever I just said to one side, because it's giving me a little bit more. It's smoother. So it just seems like that, you know, if the brand, if we use Evolve as example, can actually get it right for what the customer needs and the riders want, if they nail it each time, then it's just this like incredible place where we all love getting outside, we all love riding, but if you can make the riding less stressful, more enjoyable, then, you know, that's just the best place to be. That sounded right, didn't it?
Yeah.
Progression of the product, just like it's not necessarily going faster and more powerful every time, but like all the little aspects, like even like you figuring out the sleep mode on the Hadian today. It's just a nice little touch, which is, you know, just makes everything a bit better. So over time, it becomes more enjoyable. Tell us about Skate Electric. So how did that actually come about? When did Skate Electric start, and what was it in the early days?
Yeah, so what happened was I was in Australia. So I come from I was doing sponsorship procurement, and I was doing some TV presenting in London, in wakeboarding predominantly. So so when I was in Australia, I was working for Vodafone doing guerrilla marketing. So that was my thing. And then when I got the board, and after a few weeks, I thought there's a business opportunity here. Clearly, this is, in my mind at that time, I was saying, this is it. This is like a new product area. We've got to go there. And I had a really good friend in London who just started a company called Surf Dome, and they had all these different surf skate brands. And I was on the phone to him quite a bit. And I was going, you know, I think we need to get onto this. So I did register Skate Electric in Australia. So I incorporated like a company, and I managed to borrow I got a loan, I think it's about £5,000. So I got 30 boards sent over from Eagle-Eyed in Santa Monica. And it's quite funny. It was kind of, you familiar with Only Fools and Horses? There's a UK comedy, the guys, a lot of people know. We'll send you the link.
Some people will know
It's
it.
Back
classic,
in the day, it was like 70s.
It's a bit of a...
I'm probably going to get grilled in the comment section for not knowing what it is now.
It's classic, but he's a wheeler dealer, and he's got like loads of, you know, whatever it is, microwave ovens, TVs in his flat, loads of boxes. It looked a bit like that. I had 30 boxes in my flat. I had a small flat. But the thing was, although I was shifting them, and we had a website, and I went to the Gravity Games, I got in the Sunday Argus, and you know, we were getting some good PR. The bottom line was the quality wasn't there. Kept getting returns. I'm not that mechanically minded. The spares that we were getting sometimes didn't work. We're having problems with the leads. So, you know, as you know, one of the reasons Evolve has done so well is because they can look after the customer with regards to servicing. And I think for me at that time, I was so caught up with the excitement of the actual product. You know, different to obviously Jeff had looked at the product, thought this is awesome, but I can do much better. I was kind of like, this is awesome. Let's get it out there and then try and solve the problems. Got to a point after a year, I thought, right, this is not good. We need to get a different, we need to get a better board. We need to get a wireless board. And this is quite funny because I had actually eSKATE, I think, were the very first. I think they had the patent in like '96 for the wireless board. I think was it Louis Finkel? I think is the original guy who did it. But so eSKATE was the first brand, and they were based just outside, I think Oakland, and just outside San Fran. So on my way back, I met up with him, and I was just like, I had to go on their main board. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't remember, but it was I ended up buying one. And then we were talking about doing a deal, but of course, shipping it from San Fran would never work out. But basically, we went to China, which is another story in itself. I don't know if I answered your question. I think I went off piste. Did I?
So, Skate Electric was essentially selling the boards at the start.
Yeah, exactly. All Skate Electric was, E-Glide was my first port of call because that was the first board I got, which is the Dewey Weber here.
Yeah.
But then I was like, actually, if I'm going to go to the UK, I can't just bring boards in from, we looked at the numbers, they just didn't work out. So then I thought, right, I need to, and then I looked at eSKATE, and that wouldn't work out either because although they could ship from, they were getting produced in China, the numbers didn't stack out. So I was like, right, I've got to go my own route. So then I went on a mission, and what would that be the trigger? I went out solo for 10 days. And as a guy called Wesley Chang, who lived in Texas, so I scraped enough money together to fly out to China, and he really looks after me. But he took me to the Wuxi University where they do all of the testing, and then he took me to a factory which is in Yongkan in the I'll look at my phone in a minute, but it's near Wuxi. Where would it been? It's like 10 hours north of Shanghai. So yeah, I went to the factory and actually saw firsthand, how the boards were made. In some ways, I think, was that necessary to fly all the way out there? But actually, thinking about it, it probably was, particularly now looking at the footage, which is cool. But so then once I met up with them, with Justin, who was running Surf Dome, we brought in 300 units. Half were like adult boards and half were kids boards. Like under 10. So we had a sub-brand called Power Skate, SK8. And half of the boards were pretty all right and half were terrible.
So just to clarify, what was the difference between those adult boards and the kid boards?
Yeah, well, they were just, so shorter decks and half the power. So it's like a difference between like a sort of 600 watt street board to a 250 watt street board. So they go 12 miles an hour. So then when I came back to the UK, there's a big retailer here you're probably familiar with called John Lewis. They're pretty big. In fact, I think John Lewis is linked to, because you're in Selfridges, right? Is that right? You were in Selfridges?
Not anymore, yeah.
Okay. But they were up for getting my boards in, but actually, you're making like 11 quid. It was a nightmare. So to answer your initial question, Skate Electric was basically we were buying boards in the UK from an OEM, but putting our brand name on the boards. We had some like influence on the deck shape, but the actual motors and the batteries were stock, and they were shipping them to, selling them to other brands around the world. So it's a classic OEM deal.
What year are we talking about now?
Oh yeah, so we're talking. This would have been 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was in Australia 2005 and 2006, and then I'd have done China in 2007.
So because if you go on your YouTube channel and sort by oldest, there's like all these crazy videos of you. It's in London, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
What year were those ones?
The first commute video, the white helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2008.
Yeah, okay. So was that on that board?
Yeah, it would have been not on this one. It would have been on this one. Oh, don't worry about that. Yeah, be on that one.
Jesus, look at the size of that deck.
That is, well, I can't even lift that with one hand. That's so heavy. I actually probably can,
that bit was sorted off because I went to Greece and I was trying to get it in like a flight case. So, yeah, I mean, it's like
robust.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get much flex out of that, are you? But yeah, I think that was the commute board, that one.
So what was it that made you want to do that commute video in London?
Well, I think what happened with that one was just like, you know, I wanted to get it out there. I wanted to have a bit of fun with it because, you know, I thought, how can we do this? And a really good mate of mine called Phil Dunn, he's got a production company called Authentive. He's a skater, and we had a bit of beer one day, and I said, look, I've got this idea, you know, and I hadn't got it. I had a vision, but I needed someone just to kind of help me to work it out. And my dad worked in advertising, and back in the 80s, it was quite common to have like a leather briefcase, and he wasn't using it anymore. So I just thought, right, I'm just gonna put a suit on, leather briefcase. I've obviously got a spare hand for the remote. The range was around 6-7 miles, and from Notting Hill to Westminster, it's about 6 miles. So yeah, I thought we'll start the Electric Theatre. See why I did that?
Yeah, very good.
Clever. And then Phil's a brilliant filmmaker. So then he was right. He hadn't ridden electric boards much, but he had a Sony PD150. So he was you know, shooting at Matty Rogers style, front hand, and it was a lot of fun. We just pretty much shot it in one take. There's some sections like going in between the buses, which I will kind of
exhilarating.
I wouldn't advocate that. When I did the reel, I thought I took that bit out, but it's there. I can't get rid of it. But yeah, it was mad. But I think the thing was what sticks in my mind is just it's almost like it was so exciting because literally there's no one else doing it, so it was brilliant. And then yeah, when we got to Houses of Parliament, I was obviously being a little bit cheeky, like having a bit of banter with the guys. But you got to remember, I'm holding this, and it's post 9/11, so that probably wasn't very good. But yeah, no, it was good fun. But that video was sort of maybe a bit sort of spurred me on. Thought, right, we've got something cool here, and we did a few other things. Like we sold 9 boards to Ian Wright, famous footballer, got on the Gadget Show, Christian O'Connell. So we got all these things that was kind of making it feel like, yeah, I'm on the right journey for this. And then we're selling some boards as well. But the issue was we're just getting too many returns, and we didn't have a service centre, you know. And yeah, it just, I think after about 2 years, it got to a point where I had to literally wind it down. But it was awful personally because I had such love for it, and it was almost like extinguishing a dream. And but obviously I knew it was going to come right. I just knew that my timing was wrong, and so I did other things, you know, from presenting through to personal training, worked in advertising, always kept my one eye on what's going on. And then 2012, I was working in advertising in Old Street, and I saw Volve's first website, and I saw the snub nose, which is that
the old snub nose.
And then I managed to save up for a pintail and a snub nose, but it was weird. The weird thing about it, I think I got them maybe like in October, but I was in another mental down period, and the boards were sitting on. I was with a girlfriend who had a spare room, and the boards were sitting there for like 10 weeks. I didn't even want to open the box because I just wasn't feeling it. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to do it. And then opened it up, and then I've got that. You'll see that minute edit I put together, which is basically the very first time I took the snub nose out. And I didn't even have a GoPro. What's it called?
Oh, the stick thing?
Yeah, no stick. So I used a bit of scaffold with a GoPro and gaff at it. Girlfriend's dog, and you could just see on the video, it was just like, whoa, this is what I need. Because I'd come out of a 3 month depression. I was not in a good way. Put the helmet on. Nothing new about a helmet then. Dog off the lead. I was in Waddensworth or something like that. Yeah. Along the river. And I just got back to the flat. I was like, it's just like calmed me down. I was like, right, okay, this is good. This is good. And we actually had some chats, actually. Jeff and I had some chats about maybe, because he was looking for a distributor in the UK at the time. And we had some early chats. But the thing was, I think I worked out it's not really my skill set. The actual reality of being a distributor, it's not really me, you know. So we didn't take that forward. And but then I went to Cape Town in 2014, where I was born in Cape Town. I was trying to get a project going there, which is basically like a wake. In front of Table Mountain, there's a dam called Multino Dam, which is a perfect size for like a System 2 wake park. So I approached the city, calling it Wake Town. I thought it was quite clever. But they were up for it, but then we had the biggest drought in 100 years. But the relevance here with Evolve was I had that, and I had a pintail, and we did another commute video. And yeah, so I was kind of like keep tapping into it, you know, and I didn't know, I knew I didn't want to like create a skateboard brand, because I kind of had my fingers burnt on that, and I was like, no, that's not my thing. But I still wanted it. I didn't know where. And then we did another commute video that was on the Snub Nose, and Phil did that as well. That was 2.0. That was in a blue suit. So I think that was similar time, maybe a little bit before the Cape Town one. And then I was just cracking on with PTing and that sort of stuff. Again, you know, going back to, obviously I've known that for a while that we're doing this, and I think, you know, it's always good if you can be authentic in your story. You know, obviously people can edit whatever, but yeah, my whole journey from when I first went on electric skateboard was when I started having like serious mental health issues. And, you know, it's been pretty bumpy, but it's been really good recently, the last year or so, last couple of years. But I think the whole journey is quite interesting, because it's almost like the flashes or the time I've had on the board have been those times that sort of kept me up, kept me going. So when I came back from about 2016, when the GT came in, it came in 2016, the first GT, something like that.
I think the end of 2015 is when the carbon GT
because I was
dropped.
aware it came in, and I knew, I was like, that's just it.
I think it was 2016.
Yeah, 2016. So it's like dual motors, that's it. And I had ridden them boosted. So I was like thinking like where I am, just to rip up the street rather than having to, you know, take your time to accelerate up the hill wasn't something I'd really experienced. So I was just like thinking, oh, this is awesome. But I wasn't in a position, you know, like lots of people out there, you might want it, you might deserve it, but you just can't get it, you know. So that's where I was at. I wasn't in a place to get a board, so I didn't get one. And then the next thing that happened was we're in 2018. I got well again, and it's funny because I went to the UK Open, so everyone had GTs.
GTR, no, the first GTs. UK Open.
First UK
okay.
GTs, because it's just before the Worlds. So I went with that, and I did all right. You were there. Well, I think
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was 2018.
Yeah.
Was it in summer, in July?
Yeah.
I had my one board.
And I did all right, because I was quite quick off the line, and then I think I sort of did all right, but then I missed a couple of cones and sort of got disqualified or something. But I think I did all right. I came like 7th or something in the UK Open and thought, that sounds pretty good. And then Jeff was there going, you come into the Worlds in San Diego. And I was like, sounds good. But it's like a few months off, and, you know, it's the money and all that stuff. So I was thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do this. So then I was in Spain. My mate's got like a surf school, and I went out for a week actually to help out with some of the sort of kids doing like coaching, but for kids. And then and I thought, again, it was weird. It's like, you know, when you know you got to do something, you just got to like, I've got to do it. And then basically a mate of mine flies for BA, So he got me a cheaper ticket, and I called Andy. Andy, is Andy's surname Box?
Smith.
Smith, yeah.
That's his Instagram name.
Yeah, Andy Smith. Yeah, he's not got Andy Box. It'd be a weird name. Yeah, so I called Andy. I've known Andy for years, and he's always been super cool. And he was like, "Yeah, man, we'll make something happen." Because I said, like, "I want to come out, but I don't have a board." Number one, and he was going, "Oh, we'll sort it out." So then I think he spoke to Jeff or yourself. I'm not sure how it works. I think it's Jeff actually, and said, "Yeah, no worries. You can take a demo board out." So yeah, I went out with the guys and got a battery out there, and that was a turning point.
That was a big event, that one. That was probably the first like really professionally run sort of event, because we had the World Cups in France. You didn't go to them?
I didn't go to those, you know.
Yeah, so they were great. They were very community driven, but like...
And when I saw, I don't know if this is, people can relate to this, but I remember seeing those videos and it looked so epic, but I was kind of like, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but I was just like bummed that I wasn't in the zone to be there. So I think that's why I was like, I've got to get myself out there. Not so much to like do so well, just to be a part of it. Yeah, it was just an incredible vibe. But as you said, it was super legit the way it was put together. We stayed in this awesome, so San Diego. I'm trying to remember the name of the hotel. It was beautiful. It was just by the water. And I think the first day or so, I was a bit sketchy. And then I was just I had a couple of tracks I was playing. It was a decent track. It was something about fight your battles or something. And I was just banging that on. And then it's really funny. We got there late, and then Andy was like, you know, everyone was, because we didn't have batteries, and what's his name? SoCal. What's his first name?
Joe W.
Yeah, Joe was there sorting out batteries. So we're in like one of the rooms, and it's like everyone's got like, this is your battery, and it's like about 1 a.m. and I'm thinking, when am I going to bed?
Yeah.
You know, but then no, we're going for a ride.
Yeah.
And I'm going, Andy's going, no, we're going for a ride. I said, sure, maybe I'll go for a ride in the morning. They're going, no, we're going for a ride now. Come on. So we went for a ride, which was cool. And then anyway, the first day was the AT course. So we got there, and yeah, when I was walking around, I was super nervous.
Yeah.
It was
I've never been on an AT track.
It was a big track too. It was Chula Vista BMX track, which is an Olympic grade BMX track. Yeah. It's a full on track.
Special like sort of some sort of guard on the bottom of the battery box because it flattens out. Yeah,
there was plastic things on the bottom of the board to protect the battery because they were so steep. The boards were bottoming out.
Really,
it was a big track. Yeah.
It was crazy, and that was just a mental day because I was where are the wheels? I put the wheels somewhere. Can you hold that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right here. So
they can't hear you when you walk away from the microphone.
Yeah, I just grabbed my wheels. So Andy was going, here's a board, and said you might need some AT wheels because you're going to be racing on an AT course. So he said, I'll tell you what, I've got some here, and there's some second-hand wheels. So these bad boys.
Ginormous.
Quite decent. They're 8-inch, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they look it.
So they were, anyway, so I started going round. I had 10 minutes to practice. Mm-hmm. And it was like being in a film because I got on the near side on most of the heats, which is quite handy, you know, and I was just second and made it to the quarters, and then I made it to the final.
Yeah, good.
You're in the final.
Yeah, so I don't want to blame on Trump. I made the final of the World Cup.
Kind of a big deal. You're pretty good.
Out of 70 riders.
It's good.
Anyway, so that was cool. That was massive. But the overall week was amazing, and then obviously the street racing at the go-kart track. But it's just really, the racing was awesome, but it was just, it really did, it does sound a bit cliche, but it did feel like a family. It felt like a really, because you obviously got riders from all over the world, and you just met, you just met some brilliant characters. Because everyone's on the same vibe. They just want to like have a good time, but they all were into their electric boards, and it was just so cool. And I think for me, when I got back, I'm just trying to remember the time, which links in with the business and all that sort of stuff. Because I was thinking when I went to the UK Open, I was thinking, you know, it'd be great to be able to do something around here, but it always came down to power and range, you know. But then when I tried someone's GT, I was like, this is awesome. So I think when I came back from the Worlds, well, then I had family stuff to deal with. I had acute tinnitus, which was one of the worst things in my life. Then I lost my dad as well. This is 2019, and I think the first time we were in contact, you sent me a message because you'd sought me out a board for a UK Open, like one of the high-powered ones. You said, you know,
Oh, the four drive boards.
full drive, yeah.
Yeah, that was the second UK Open, and we built 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
And you had one for it as well?
2019.
Yeah, so we just wanted to sprinkle out the boards on
That's
some of
right.
the better riders.
And I didn't know you then, and then you sent me this message, and I was like, oh, this is cool, yeah. But then I had so much going on, and I remember like bailing on it like 2 days before, and I was beside myself because I was just like, I needed it, but I couldn't do it. So that was then, and then when I got myself sorted by 2020, I was like, right, I'm just going to go for this, and I knew what I wanted to do, which is simple. I just wanted to grow the sport, but I wanted to create my own e-skate school. So my background's always been coaching. I've been coaching since I was 17, predominantly water sports, but tennis and PTing and all that stuff. So I like being with people. So I thought, you know, I want to do an e-skate round here, all levels, but also focus on children, because although of course you sell your products, your boards plus 16 pretty much, right, on paper, which I totally get. There's no reason why in my view, why a 3-year-old can't enjoy it if the power is, you know, sorted, you know, is done by a coach. And I proved that over the last 3 years, you know, of doing these captain electric parties. And I just think it's great. And I think from a commercial point of view, I think it's great as well, because of course, if dad sees his daughter having a good time and then understands actually when she's not there, he can rip the thing. I think there's some good opportunities all around.
It's interesting to hear your story sort of like laid out chronologically like that, because it's so evident that this, like the teaching thing and the demo thing, like this is what you're good at. Like, okay, maybe importing and all that shit, it's probably not your cup of tea. But like we were out for a skate today, and it was we found this grandma walking around in the woods.
Incredible, yeah.
Not
Really.
She was with her family.
Yeah.
with her family, and
She was by herself.
That's probably more likely great grandmother, to be honest, given her age.
She's 93.
Yeah.
yeah, 93, and Nick convinced her that it was about time to try an electric skateboard.
Yeah.
I kind of hinted, and then her family were up for it.
No, her family really like pushed it.
Yeah, they did. But then what I thought was, let's just get her on the deck with no movement. You know, it's just like standing on a ledge. There's no problem here, and we'll help her on. So in my view, there's no risk. We got her on. Took a while to get the stance, didn't it? But then with her front hand, she was holding a stick.
Well, I took her walking stick.
Yeah.
She didn't need that. She had enough guidance.
But then when we took the stick away, it was like she wanted to move. You could tell.
Yeah, she was excited by it. She was giddy.
And I dropped her to pro, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Because she was in GT.
Probably didn't even need promo, to be honest.
No.
Then we let her go,
Safe.
gave her the remote, and then she just went, no, we didn't really.
She just did a back one.
Just outskated all of us. But yeah, like that's pretty much what I mean. Like your ability to do that is so clear.
Yeah.
I love it. I actually love it. And I think, you know, it's just what I love about it's easy. And I think it probably is because I've had so much time. Obviously, as I've just explained, I've had lots of, although I've been into e-skating for 17 years, there have been lots of gaps along the way for lots of reasons. But I think ultimately it's the ultimate icebreaker, because it's not just, you know, in a pub situation when you've got the board or something to talk about. Because I just think, because people don't know what it is, human behavior is quite interesting, because they just, if they don't like it, they can be like, oh, what's this? He's these guys with long hair and they're on things and flashing. You know, I can imagine for some people that is not cool and it's not what they want. They're out walking their dog. But I think if you slow down, you say good afternoon, maybe you even sound a bit posher than you are. Get a bit, I don't know, whatever. You just kind of like make them feel at ease. You know what I mean?
Make an effort, basically.
Make an effort. Say how you doing. Keep your distance and explain what it is. And then then they might even want to have a go. And then beyond that, they may want to pay for a lesson, which is always handy. But I think it's the ability to just spread some joy. It's free, it's easy, and it's, you're not putting it in someone's face, because sometimes, of course, people just are doing something else. They're on a call, they've got no time. But if they give you a hint of, oh, what's that? It's so easy. I mean, you did it. I saw you do it today. Just saying, hey, this is electric. It's, I just think I don't think I could ever get bored of it, because why would you? Because it's like when you're doing a lesson with a 5-year-old, you don't go, oh God, they still don't know how to stand, because every 5-year-old's different. So it's like, come on, just turn your foot, cool, right, smile, and then it's off. And so it's never going to get boring. So you just got to keep doing it.
Where do you want to go with Skate Electric? So we haven't really told people exactly what you're doing now. So it's like a whole eSkate tour and school, right?
Yeah, so the best way to explain it, so I started in 2020 just testing out with kids' parties, like pretty much like 4 to 8 year olds. And I thought to do that, to make it fun, you need a character, so I created Captain Electric. So yeah, I've got a cape, gold shoes, that kind of stuff. And then we just do like a rotation. So if there's 10 kids, so you just need 2 coaches ideally. Just make it fun, and you just, rip through, 2 minutes up and down. So I think, to answer your question, last year was like proving the concept. So, as a business, we're just coaching and guiding, doing kids' parties is one side of the business. Then we do one-to-ones, then we do small groups. And I think, we're not really banging the drum massively at the moment, because we're just sorting out the sort of detail on the legality. So we've got with the insurance for the last year, we were actually just using waivers, because we struggle to get public liability, because it's like a new category, as I'm sure you're not surprised. But we're now about to work with a company called Park, who are going to be doing our public liability. We're hopefully going to sign that off next week. But yeah, I think what I'd like to see really is this year's focus on 2 areas. So Surrey Hills, where I'm from, also Brighton Hove, because it's down the road, it's 55 minutes. It's a bigger scene, more people, and it's perfect for it. And then on the basis that I've proven the business model, what I'd like to do is franchise the school system in the UK. So next year, maybe have Skate Electric Edinburgh, Skate Electric Cardiff, Skate Electric Dublin. And I think the way that I look at it is, you obviously need the right person, clearly. Someone knows the spaces. But we're not talking about a building. We're talking maybe $5,000 worth of kit, couple of flags. By that time, maybe we'll have a deal with an electric car company. So they would just, it's like a classic franchise. They would run off our branding. They'd run off our booking system. But this is next year. I think for this year, I just want to prove the model. We're moving it also into different areas, like schools, for example. We've done a couple of schools, but I think that's a big area, because all schools have got land, they've got kids, and it's also educational. I think when we did a little it's a school I went to down the road called Duke of Kent, and got invited to an eSkate, and I think an eSkate assembly. And if you think about like the science and physics teachers, and then the PE teachers, they're all interested, because it's engaging the kids. They're learning about batteries, they're learning about motion, they're learning about mindfulness, they're learning about the outdoors, they're learning about mobility. I mean, it should be maths, double eSkate. But so I think there's loads of areas. So it's not just me, by the way. It's Skate Electric is me. But I also work with a really talented rider and filmmaker, a guy he's on Instagram, Luke_OW, and he lives like 10 minutes away. He's just turned 18. He's a really good one-wheeler, So yeah, we offer one wheeling as well within the school. But yeah, it's just good to work with another coach. So he helps me out on the coaching, which is great. So yeah, I'm in it for you know, I can't see me doing anything else. You know, I mean, we've definitely you know proved that people want more. It's just about how to do it effectively. We're not running Facebook ads or anything like that. All of the business we've done is purely through referrals. And obviously when we do like Facebook ads, which we will do, we just want to make sure everything is absolutely fully legit with like public liability and stuff like that, which is been tough.
It's a whole wormhole.
Yeah, it is.
We know a thing or two about that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but no, it's great to see, and the kid thing's interesting. Evolve. We don't do a great deal with children because, again,
public liability,
all those things, but also like, you know, they're not the ones buying the product, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't get involved in the sport. So we're seeing now, because it's only like literally the last couple of years where there's kids out there now, 16, 17, 18, where they've somewhat grown up with electric skateboards. Yeah. I mean, all of us came into it as adults.
Yeah.
We didn't get that sort of 10 through 16 of like learning how to do a sport as a kid. So I think the level and progression when kids start doing it like that, that's the next wave of e-skaters.
Yeah, so. Sure.
Yeah, and also like when you're that age and you get into a sport, you're going to be more likely to want to push limits and help develop the sport in that area as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely see that age group pushing it forwards more.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. With regards to the kids, it's like you know, when they're that small, it's a holding remote's like an issue, you know. So, but do you? I can see why you don't directly promote to children, but presumably the whole fact that the dad might be up for buying a board. But I guess, yeah, I suppose here's my question: have you thought like down the line, would you look at if the public liability and all that was sorted, would you be looking to create a lighter, smaller board for youngsters, or because it's a massive market, isn't it?
It is. It's a good question. I'm probably not the most qualified for it. I think like, I know we're talking a lot about like liability and the legal stuff, but it's also like the ethical responsibility. Like we like our boards are powerful. They're made for adults. Like we want to not give that to a 6-year-old just because it's a bad idea. That said, there's plenty of like 10-year-olds that do come to group rides and they have the dexterity in their fingers to actually use a remote and they shred.
Yeah.
So like if they can use it safely, we're not against it.
Yeah.
But just responsibility with it. But yeah, a smaller board or something like that in the future could be the go. Usually they ride the Stoke, and you could go smaller again for sure, because that's still got way too much power, especially when you weigh 30 kilos.
Yeah. Like, and even then you've got the slow modes, haven't you? So it won't, you know, be gunning them off the board really, especially if they've got their parents looking after them.
You'd be surprised what happens to a 20-kilo kid.
Really? They just go flying.
Yeah, the boards are so powerful because it's like when you take off in safe mode when you're not on the board, it still goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's better than GTR mode.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've been skating around Surrey Hills today,
Surrey
right?
Hills, yeah.
So you grew up here.
Yeah.
We had a discussion earlier about it's sort of surreal coming back.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I was actually brought up near this town that we're in here in Sheer, in a small little quaint town called Holmbury St Mary. And I moved out of this area when I was about 12, and you know, I hadn't really seen it for that long before getting back into e-skating. And I was just saying to Matty earlier how things go like full circle, and it's just like quite an unbelievable experience being able to think back to when I was like between 5 to 10 years old, living in this area, going to school, just being a kid, then fast forwarding like 20, 25 years, and then thinking that I'd be like riding electric skateboards through the hills, this like amazing, beautiful scenery, just as an adult. It's just a really strange like phenomenon to be thinking that would be happening, and that you just don't know where your life will take you in that respect. So yeah, I just think it's just like a really amazing thing being able to think about, you know, when you're a kid and where you're at now and how things can really come full circle. Just would never have thought in a million years I'd be shredding like the tracks around here on an electric skateboard when I used to live here as a kid. It's just really crazy.
Well, you couldn't fathom it because it didn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it would have been science fiction. If you told someone, it would have been crazy talk.
What's mad? We were chatting about this earlier. Can you hold that, please?
Yeah, sure.
Can I get a prop?
Gladly.
Yeah.
So this is the prop. So basically,
Oh, if you can pick it up, it's pretty heavy.
we'll do it in stages. So this is the battery pack. I think that must be 20 Ks, something like that. So I'm just going to put this on the floor. Excuse me one moment. Oh, man. Anyway, here's the beast. So, right, how's this going to work? Don't know if everyone can see that. Yeah. Here, obviously the battery pack's off. So look at this. I mean, this is just ridiculous. That's the back of it. And then that's the back of it, and then it's the front of it. Anyway, got that? Right. My point here.
It's massive.
My point here, so I think it weighs 40 Ks. So this was one of the Chinese boards from 2007. But your point a moment ago when Andrew was talking about when he was a kid around, you know, in the sort of Surrey Hills, would never think about riding a board. Because why would you? It just didn't exist. But what I've still wrapped my brains about is that, so 2007, I was riding this here. It's obviously an off-road board, but like we didn't really, because of the limited power, although it could go along, it could have gone along some sections we rode today. My brain wasn't thinking, right, this is awesome, I'm going to put it in the back of the car, because we were more like thinking, right, we'll go to the local wreck and just go up a little, maybe a bank. Can we get up a bank like that? So I think your kind of your thought about what the board could do was just limited to like, oh, maybe we could do a field, maybe we could do your garden. Let's go to your friend, we'll go to a big garden, wherever. But then what puzzles me is that then I wasn't thinking, oh, well, if we can do this, then maybe in a few years down the road, it's going to be more power. There's going to be more torque, and we can then like rip around the Surrey Hills like we did today. But I never had those thoughts. And that's probably because it was just too far out there. It was just like, if you had that conversation then, imagine you in the future, like you could have 2 hours ride time and you could just shred, like loop and loop and loop, and like, yeah, I don't think so. That's going to happen. But do you know what I mean? I think it's just, you just don't think it's going to happen because you can't see it happening. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, and it was so new at that time as well that you're more like wrapped up in the excitement of it, and also that you are actually physically limited by that, right? By the actual range, size, and weight of it.
Yeah,
you're not really going to want to lug that up Surrey Hills because that's just going to be a nightmare. You're going to be knackered by the time you get.
Not really
there.
a good look, is it?
And then you run out of battery within like a mile, and you'd be like, "Well, that was fun.
Yeah,
let's lug it all the way home."
But in the same sense, in 10 years' time, we'll have this conversation about the limitations of the Hadean.
Yeah, sure.
No, there's got to be limits. Yeah. Really?
Well,
when they have wings.
We talk about this quite a lot because we play around with some things, and the problem with the boards, they're now getting so powerful, they're hard to stand on.
Yeah.
Like there is a limit.
Yeah.
The point where it takes off so quickly you can't stand on it anymore.
Doesn't matter how strong you are.
I mean, range is a good thing. Like as battery technology, you'll get smaller batteries, more range in a small board. But yeah, it's definitely going to evolve. Like, but where's it going to go?
Yeah.
And can we fathom it right now?
Yeah, God, don't know.
Well, here's a question. Do you know where it's going to go?
Not in 10 years.
5 years? Yeah, of course.
We got ideas. We got ideas.
You don't want to tell us.
But
Turn the microphone.
Well, we can probe.
so I think the most exciting thing is battery technology. With electric vehicles, proper cars going into that space, the amount of money going into developing that technology is well beyond the world of eSkate. Like,
You just piggyback on that.
we'll piggyback on that for sure, because it's all about content, being compact, high energy, small space, lightweight, which is perfect. So, I mean, it's not unreasonable to assume that in the size of like a Haitian deck, you might get 5x or 10x the range in, you know, it's not going to happen in a couple years, but down the track, that is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So what happens when that board can now do 200 miles?
That's amazing in itself.
Like that's probably going to happen.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thought. So it's more about just what we have getting much more efficient, lighter, just better use out of everything, really. That's good. I mean, even with the Haitian, it's
good
like,
to know, isn't it?
yeah. It's good to know we're moving in that direction. But even with that range, like, it's amazing. It's such a good board.
But it's like, what I find
really
interesting
ticks
is just like routine habits are changing. Like if you remember today, my instinct after you have a solid ride, it's just a habit now. It's charged. Got to charge.
Yeah.
But we finished that ride, and I knew we had another ride. And if you remember, I said to you, "Should we go back to mine to charge?" And you both were like, "Well, also I maybe needed to, but you're in Hedin, so you're like, well, I don't think we need to." And of course, that's interesting itself. It's kind of like now it's, you know, you charge after a few rides, not like every ride.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. We filmed for like an hour or two and we're like, nah, we're good. There's still juice in the tank. We don't need to do it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Look, that's probably going to about do us. So anything else we want to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was just going to say thanks for coming down.
Oh, no worries.
It's been a great day.
Pleasure,
Thanks for you coming down.
Thanks for showing me around, man. These trails are really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Surrey Hills, if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah, it's in Surrey Hills. Yeah, just if you're interested in coming down, just check out my Instagram, which is Skate Electric. And yeah, just thank Jeff for creating Evolve, because although my eSkate journey was obviously, you know, with other brands along the way, the majority of it's been Evolve. The last decade, pretty much bang on, it's been Evolve. So that's made my eSkate journey just, it's been epic. It really has. And yeah, just look forward to seeing, you know, the next steps, the next improvements, and yeah. Cheers, guys.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for watching. It's always good to be on a podcast talking to guys like this, and especially talking about the history of eSkating and where it's gone, you know, where it started to now, and like where it could go in the future. Really exciting possibilities. So it's always good to kind of think about where that's going to be going.
I was just going to say one thing, if I could. We're talking about technology, where it's going to go, and obviously people say, "Oh, what about when's a hoverboard gonna? When's that going to happen?" You know, and I was thinking, well, you know, obviously we've seen people mess around with high-powered drones, but the thing is, even if you get it bang on, you can actually hover like decent amount, Back to the Future style. I don't know, doing like sort of a front side turn in the air is as satisfying as doing like a front side on like loamy sort of soil. Like, I don't think you're gonna feel it as much.
True. There'll probably be some air resistance.
I think I don't know. I think it'd be
No
satisfying. I just don't think it'd be as good. You're not gonna get a crunchy front side turn.
No.
Well, where's the resistance coming from? Like,
Yeah, like a cloud's not gonna give you much.
But again, maybe it's one of those things we can't fathom. Like, who knows?
Well, no one knows.
Just have to see.
I don't think hoverboards are going to happen. No. Not in a good sense, because they've been made on like tracks and they just suck.
Yeah, they're going to get in the way anyway. You're going to get hit by novices.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, stick to wheels, stick to batteries, keep them on the floor, and we're good.
All right. Cheers for watching, guys. Remember to wear a helmet, because it's very important.
Definitely wear a helmet. Always wear a helmet.
See you on the next one.
See you later.
Cheers.